Just a quick note before we start. I really want to improve my audience retention. If you think, hey, this is pretty good, give it a like and subscribe. If you're more like, not quite, drop me a comment and let me know what didn't work. All right, let's get into it. I stayed for the dog. I know I died in the fall. It was one of those warm North Carolina afternoons where the sun hits the porch just right and the air smells like hay and old wood. I'd been fixing the fence out by the back pasture. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground, staring up at the sky through a blur. I don't remember the pain, just the sound of leaves and birds, and the dog barking. That was the last thing I heard. Then, silence. For a while I thought I was dreaming, but everything looked too real, too still. I stood up. No one noticed. Not the neighbors, not the mailman, not even Sheriff Collins, who pulled into the drive a day later. He stepped over me, called someone, then the coroner came. I watched them carry me out like I was a bag of feed. Watched my sister cry by the kitchen sink. And the dog, Boone, he was the only one who saw me. That first night, he sat by the back door, head tilted, ears twitching. He wagged his tail when I walked past him, even though no one else could hear my boots on the floor. Boone's a mutt. Some shepherd in him. Some hound. I'd had him since he was a pup. Found him behind the gas station, half-starved and full of fleas. Fed him beef jerky out of my glove box, and he never left my side since. After I died, Boone started sleeping in my old recliner, the one I always used to nap in after lunch. He'd curl up tight, nose tucked into the cushion like he was holding on to something. People said he was grieving. I think he knew I wasn't gone. He followed me around the house, like he always had. Down to the barn in the mornings, back to the porch at dusk. He barked when I went out of sight too long, like he was afraid I might fade away if he wasn't looking. The others didn't see it. They just called him clingy, said he was getting old. Truth is, I stayed for him. He was the only one who still looked at me like I mattered. When my sister moved into the house, Boone stayed too. She tried to get him to sleep in the laundry room. He wouldn't have it. Scratched at the door until she gave in and let him back into the living room. Some nights, she'd catch him staring at the corner of the room, right where I sat. She started leaving the recliner empty. Years went by. Boone grayed around the muzzle, moved slower, slept more. I started to notice something I hadn't before. The bond we had, the way he reacted to me, it was getting thinner, like static on a bad radio. Some days he wouldn't turn his head when I walked in. Some days he just slept through it. I didn't blame him. Time forgets everyone eventually. But one day, he perked up again. It was sunny out, late summer. I was sitting on the porch rail, watching the fields. Boone came out, slow but steady. He didn't look at the yard or the birds. He looked straight at me. And he smiled. Dogs don't smile like people. But Boone always had this way of curling his lips, squinting his eyes, letting out a soft whine. He looked at me like he'd known all along, like he was saying, "It's okay. I'm ready now." He lay down by my feet. Well, where my feet would have been, and let out a long sigh. The sun dipped low. Crickets started up. I waited. A few minutes later, he was gone. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just stood there, quiet. And then I felt it. Something warm, gentle, a tug, not backward, but forward, like I wasn't supposed to stay anymore. Boone led the way, same as always, tail wagging, tongue out, trotting up ahead like he knew where we were going. I didn't look back. I didn't have to. The house would go on. My sister would paint the walls, sell the tractor, maybe get a new dog one day. But Boone and I, we had somewhere else to be. And this time, we'd both be waiting at the door. You can't block me anymore. She blocked me. First, it was just texts, then calls. Then she unfollowed every account I had. Instagram, Facebook, even the dumb old Pinterest board we made together. Then she changed her locks. Moved up 3 floors in the same building. Like I wouldn't notice. It hurt. Not just the breakup, but the erasure. Like I was never real. Like the photos, the messages, the memories didn't matter. Like she could just swipe me away. But she forgot one thing. You can't block the dead. She didn't know I died, of course. It was an accident. Stupid, really. I was trying to catch her one morning in the lobby, just to talk. Slipped on ice outside the building. Hit my head. It was fast. No drama, no blood. Just lights out. Next thing I know, I'm in the elevator. No buttons work, no reflection in the mirror. But I know where I'm going. To her. She's living in 31B now. Corner unit. Great view of the lake. I can see it all through the windows. She's still got that dumb cactus I gave her, even though she always overwatered it. The first few days, I watched. That's all I could do. She never looked up, never paused. She was on her phone constantly. Lights always on, TV always buzzing. She filled the silence with noise, like she was afraid of hearing herself think. And me, I waited. In the corners, in the walls. Behind the mirror in the bathroom. Then one night, her phone died. It was subtle at first. A flicker. The charger cord didn't catch. She jiggled it, frustrated. The screen blinked. Dead. The apartment got quiet. She got up, annoyed, and headed to the kitchen. I followed. She walked right past me, but something in her skin reacted, like a chill crawling over her neck. She rubbed it away. I whispered, "Hi." She froze. Didn't say anything. Just turned on the light. I faded back. I always fade when it's bright. She doesn't know that yet. The next day, she bought 3 backup chargers. She started sleeping with the TV on. Blared podcasts into every room. Even played white noise when she showered. She thought if she kept the world loud, I couldn't slip through. She was right, for a while. But then the storm hit. Citywide blackout. Just for a few hours. Elevators froze, streetlights flickered. The whole building fell into a heavy, humming dark. And her apartment? Finally silent. She lit candles, grabbed a flashlight, sat curled on the couch like a child. I sat beside her. She didn't notice at first, but when the air got colder, when her breath started fogging, she turned. Not all the way. Just enough to know she wasn't alone. I whispered again, closer this time. "I missed you." She whispered back, barely audible. "Go away." I almost did. Almost. But then I remembered the way she said goodbye. Not a tear. Not a second glance. Just a text. "I need space." Well, I'm nothing but space now. She ran to the bedroom, slammed the door. But doors are human things. I moved through the wall like breath. She tried turning on her phone. Nothing. Tried calling out. No signal. And then, finally, she looked at me. Not through me. Not past me. At me. I didn't look the same, of course. Death changes things. My face was familiar, but off. Like a memory seen through warped glass. She cried. Not sobs. Just one tear running down her cheek. That was enough. I sat on the floor. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Just let her feel it. The silence, the stillness, the shape I made in the room. The power came back eventually. Lights snapped on. TV resumed mid-commercial. She didn't turn it off, but she didn't move either. Since then, I visit less. I'm not cruel. I just want her to remember that I existed, that I still do. Some nights she still sleeps with everything on, but I can wait. Screens flicker, batteries drain, connections drop, and when they do, she'll hear me, clear as ever, because you can block a number, but not a memory that won't stop speaking. This isn't the afterlife, I just got stuck. I didn't expect the afterlife to be a soundstage. I thought it'd be light tunnels, maybe a few dead relatives giving me a wave. You know, the classics. Instead, I woke up on stage 4B, face down in fake cobblestone, with a fake lantern flickering beside me and a fog machine hissing just a little too loud. I wasn't religious or anything, but I figured there'd be something after. Heaven, hell, reboot. I don't know. But this was just me, stuck in a studio that smells like burnt coffee and hairspray. And here's the kicker. No one even noticed I died. 1 second, I'm moving a prop table. Next thing, blackout. Turns out it was an aneurysm. Quiet, quick, efficient. The way production likes it. They probably paused for about 20 minutes before replacing me with some intern. Now, I just kinda linger. The set changes, the crew changes, even the show changes. But I stay. Like leftover grip tape no one bothers to pull up. Most days, it's kinda boring. I wander from rig to rig. Sometimes I ride the dolly tracks back and forth. The studio cat, Ginger, sees me, rubs against my leg. She's chill. Everyone else, totally oblivious. Except her, Rebecca. Lead actress, rising star. Big eyes, huge voice. Can cry on cue like she's flipping a switch. Been doing this role for, 2 seasons now. Professional. Consistent. A total pro. And completely losing her mind. Because I think she sees me. It started with the mirror. Scene 12, take 5. She glanced past camera and locked eyes with me. I was standing behind the set wall, just watching. She flinched, missed her line. Director yelled cut. She laughed it off. But next take, same thing. Then again, and again. There's someone back there, she said. They checked. No one found anything. They never do. But she kept glancing. Over her shoulder, into the corners, especially during takes. She started ad-libbing weird stuff, too. Lines like, "You don't belong here," or "It's not in the script, but I feel it." Everyone thought she was being method. Edgy. I think she's talking to me. And I wish I could talk back. I tried once, whispered during a take. Just her name. She froze mid-line. Stared right into the camera. Said, "That's not my name." Everyone laughed, thought it was improv. But she looked pale afterward. Shaky. I followed her off set that day, into the dressing room, sat on the vanity. She stared at the mirror, hard, like she expected to see something behind her. Maybe she did. Maybe she's the type who always had one foot in another world. I wanted to tell her I'm not dangerous, I'm just stuck. I don't know how to leave, or move on, or whatever I'm supposed to do. They've been filming a dream sequence this week. Lots of fog. Slow-mo. Rebecca walks the same hallway over and over. 40 times now. Same lighting. Same camera angle. She keeps looking past the lens. At me. And today she said something that chilled even me. Between takes, she turned to the director and said, There's someone in this scene who doesn't belong in the script, but they keep showing up. So maybe we should let them speak." He laughed, called it spooky, said he'd work it into the rewrite, but she wasn't joking. Tonight, after rap, she stayed late. Sat center stage in full costume. Lights off. Just her and me. She whispered, "If you're real, say something." I moved a chair. Her breath caught, but she didn't run. She said, "You're stuck, aren't you?" And I nodded. Somehow she saw it. She whispered, "So am I." Then she smiled, said, "Let's keep doing the scene until someone notices." Maybe she means the audience. Maybe she means whatever's after. But until then, we'll both be here, trapped in the spotlight, waiting for someone to call cut. I was a joke, even in death. You know the kid everyone makes fun of in high school? The one they roll their eyes at in the hallway. The one whose name turns into a punchline. That was me. Brandon. The kid with the squeaky shoes, the bad breath, the weird laugh. Whatever. I had a million labels, none of them flattering. Nobody said it to my face, but they didn't have to. You learn to read the tilt of a head, the side glances, the way someone snickers without moving their mouth. I died junior year. Gym class, of all places. Collapsed in the locker room after running the mile. Heart thing no one knew about. Boom. Gone. Lights out before my head even hit the bench. People freaked out, sure. Ambulance, teachers crying, announcements on the PA. They held a memorial assembly, read out some quotes, played a slideshow. Everyone clapped. A few even cried. But I know the difference between crying and caring. They went back to joking the next day. About other kids, sure, but I could feel it. My name still hung around in their mouths, like gum stuck to the bottom of a desk. Remember Brandon? Dude just dropped dead. Like I was a trivia fact. A meme. They emptied my locker fast. Painted over my name on the equipment roster. Got a new kid to fill my spot in dodgeball. Life moved on. Fast. But I didn't. The thing is, no one tells you what happens next. Not the dying part. That's easy. It's the after part. The not living but not gone part. I stayed. Not sure why. Maybe because I didn't know where else to go. Maybe because no one ever looked me in the eye and said, "Goodbye." So I stayed in the gym. The locker room mostly. Cold tiles, metal benches. My spot was second row. Third from the left. Still has the scratch I made with a coin the week before I died. A tiny smiley face with X's for eyes. Hilarious. I watch the classes cycle through. Freshmen who don't know my name. Sophomores who half remember. Juniors who pretend they cared. The coaches don't talk about me. Maybe they forgot. Maybe it's easier that way. But then there's her. Jenny. She had the locker next to mine. Always smelled like citrus body spray and mint gum. Never laughed when I dropped my towel. Never called me bran flakes like the others. She wasn't exactly a friend, but she wasn't cruel. And she remembers. Every Tuesday after swim class, she sits on the bench and talks. Not loud. Not like she's doing it for attention. Just soft. Casual. "Hey, Brandon," she said once, staring at the scuffed up floor. I still can't do that backstroke without looking like I'm drowning. Another time. They changed the vending machine. No more grape soda. Bet you're glad. She talks like I'm still there. Because I am. She's the only one who never laughed at me, even after I was gone. And she says things that cut deeper than the jokes ever did. Like, "Your voice was weird, but I liked it. You always sounded surprised to be speaking." Or, I wish I'd said something when the others were mean. I wish I'd told you your drawing was cool. That day you left it on your folder. I remember that drawing. A knight in rollerblades. Stupid, right? But she remembered. And today, she did something different. She brought a sticky note, wrote something on it, peeled it off, pressed it inside the locker. I floated closer, curious. It said, "I'm sorry I laughed once. It wasn't at you. I swear asterisk." I felt something then. Like warmth, like static that doesn't sting. No one's ever apologized to me. Not once. The note's still there. Might get scrubbed off by some janitor next week. Doesn't matter. Because for a second, I wasn't a joke. I was a person. A name someone whispered, not shouted. And maybe that's all I wanted. Not justice, not revenge, just to be seen. I don't know how long I'll stay. Maybe until graduation, maybe until she leaves, maybe longer. But now I know one thing. Someone remembers me for who I was, not how I died. And that makes staying not so bad. The man I possess has no idea. The man I possess thinks the voice in his head is his own. He doesn't question it much, just assumes it's stress, caffeine, that inner monologue everyone says they have. He talks back to it sometimes, calls it his thinking voice, says things like, "Why'd I come this way?" Or, "Did I already check that stop?" And then shrugs and keeps moving. He doesn't know I'm the one nudging his feet to the left at certain corners, making him miss trains by seconds, guiding him out of his usual routines. I'm not malicious, but I do have a goal. This started 3 weeks ago. He was on the red line, headphones in, tapping some game on his phone. I was drifting. I'd been drifting for years, honestly. Just air between bodies, static in train windows, a flicker in the corner of someone's vision. No one ever saw me long enough to matter. But then he yawned, and for half a second, something opened. You don't realize how vulnerable you are mid-yawn. Everything inside goes slack, and that's all it took. I stepped in. He didn't notice at first, maybe still hasn't, but I noticed everything. I felt the weight of having lungs again, the ache in his knees, the buzz of his phone in his pocket. I remembered what it meant to be. It was addictive, so I stayed. He talks a lot to himself, quietly, under his breath. So when I whisper, he doesn't flinch. When I urge him to turn right instead of left, he calls it a hunch. We've been riding the trains every night. I like the trains. They remind me of movement, of going somewhere even if the destination never matters. But lately, I've been pushing him off route. Just a little. "Why am I on the green line?" he muttered 2 nights ago. I hate the green line. But he stayed on. Last week I led him past an alley that smelled like rust and regret. He paused, looked down it, said, "This feels familiar." It should. That's where I died. No headline, no police tape. Just a shove, a crack, and a wallet gone. Took them days to find me. Even longer to identify me. I was in between things back then. Jobs, apartments, people who'd notice. No one haunted that alley. So I decided to haunt someone else. He's not a bad man. Boring, maybe. Lonely. Same sandwich for lunch every day. Same playlist on the way to work, but he's kind. He gives up his seat for pregnant women. Tips the coffee guy even when he doesn't like the coffee. I think, in some way, he was waiting for someone to notice him too. Tonight, I'm leading him closer. We're 3 stops away now. He's staring at the window, but he's not seeing his reflection. He's watching something inside his own head. Me. I say his name. He shivers. He doesn't remember giving me that name, but I remember it. It used to be mine. He stands, gets off one stop early. I guide his feet down the stairs, around the corner, through the alley. The same one. Still stained. Still quiet. He stops, looks around. "What am I doing here?" he asks. I don't answer. Instead, I let him feel it. The memory, the moment, the pressure on his back, the snap in the air, the cold concrete. He breathes heavy, whispers, "This is where someone died." Now he's starting to understand. I lean in close, my voice in his bones. "You brought me home." He doesn't run. He just stands there, silent, listening. Tomorrow, he'll think it was a dream, a weird impulse. Maybe write it down in his notes app. Maybe tell a friend if he has one. But he'll come back. They always do. And each time, I'll be stronger, more settled, more real. Until one day, he stops asking why he talks to himself, because he won't be talking to himself anymore. She can hear me when she's asleep. No one hears me when I speak. Not really. I whisper from the corners of rooms, through the crackling of old floorboards, beneath the hum of lights in empty hallways. But it all gets swallowed by the world's noise. My words drift off, like fog over water, thin, shapeless, forgotten, except for her. When she sleeps, she finds me. It started 2 summers ago, at the lake house in Montana. A little cedar lodge her family rented for a week. I'd been there for years by then, hovering in the walls, below the floor, stuck in the cold silence, beneath the lake. I died there. Not dramatically, not tragically, just quietly. One misstep off the dock, the weight of soaked clothes, and no one noticed I was missing until the water turned still again. They never found me. But she did, not in waking life, in her dreams. The first night she stayed in the lodge, I felt her mind open like a window. Most people shut tight in sleep, locked away behind nonsense and static. But she was different, software clear, curious. She found herself standing on the dock, night sky overhead, water black as ink. And I was there, waist deep, reaching up. She didn't run. She crouched down and asked, "Why are you crying?" I couldn't explain. Not with words, but I think she felt it. The heaviness, the cold, the loneliness. The next morning she told her parents she had a weird dream. Said she saw a girl in the water who didn't have a name. They laughed it off, called it lake house imagination. But that night, she dreamed again, and again, each time the same place, same dock, same black water, me, and each time she stepped closer. I started speaking, slowly, just fragments, still here, can't rise, too heavy. She listened. One night, she asked, "Why can't you come up?" I wanted to scream, "Because no one pulled me out." But all that came out was, "Not done." She started drawing pictures in the morning. Sketches of the lake, the dock, me, my hair like kelp, my eyes wide and pale. She kept them hidden in a notebook. I watched from the shadows as she flipped through the pages, lips moving like she was reciting a story no one else could hear. Parents got nervous, said she was too caught up in the dream, took her for hikes. No screens, no sugar, no stories before bed. Didn't matter. Dreams can't be blocked like Wi-Fi. The last night of their trip, she came to the dock again, but this time, she knelt at the edge and reached into the water. I took her hand, and for a moment I rose. not all the way. Just to my shoulders. Enough for her to see the cut on my temple, the moss on my jacket, the sadness stitched into every inch of me. She didn't scream. She just whispered, "You were alone too long." Then she woke up crying. That morning, she snuck out before her parents were awake, tiptoed to the edge of the dock and stood there in her pajamas. She whispered, "Are you real?" I tried to answer. The water rippled. A breeze picked up. A dragonfly landed on her wrist. She smiled. Then they left. The car pulled away, and I was alone again. But not entirely, because she dreams of me still. Not every night, but enough. Enough that I still feel the warmth of her memory floating down into the cold. She's older now. Probably barely remembers that summer. Probably calls it that weird phase. But deep down, something in her remembers. And sometimes when she dreams, she comes back. And I reach for her again. Still waiting. Still hoping. That maybe one night she'll bring someone with her. Someone who knows how to pull me all the way out. She can hear me when she's asleep. No one hears me when I speak. Not really. I whisper from the corners of rooms, through the crackling of old floorboards, beneath the hum of lights in empty hallways. But it all gets swallowed by the world's noise. My words drift off, like fog over water, thin, shapeless, forgotten. Except for her. When she sleeps, she finds me. It started 2 summers ago, at the lake house in Montana, a little cedar lodge her family rented for a week. I'd been there for years by then, hovering in the walls, below the floor, stuck in the cold silence beneath the lake. I died there. Not dramatically, not tragically, just quietly. One misstep off the dock, the weight of soaked clothes, and no one noticed I was missing until the water turned still again. They never found me. But she did. Not in waking life. In her dreams. The first night she stayed in the lodge, I felt her mind open like a window. Most people shut tight in sleep, locked away behind nonsense and static. But she was different. Software clear. Curious. She found herself standing on the dock. Night sky overhead. Water black as ink. And I was there, waist deep, reaching up. She didn't run. She crouched down and asked, "Why are you crying?" I couldn't explain. Not with words, but I think she felt it. The heaviness, the cold, the loneliness. The next morning she told her parents she had a weird dream. Said she saw a girl in the water who didn't have a name. They laughed it off, called it lake house imagination. But that night, she dreamed again. And again. Each time. The same place. Same dock. Same black water. Me. And each time, she stepped closer. I started speaking. Slowly. Just fragments. Still here. Can't rise. Too heavy. She listened. One night, she asked, "Why can't you come up?" I wanted to scream, because no one pulled me out. But all that came out was, "Not done." She started drawing pictures in the morning. Sketches of the lake, the dock, me, my hair like kelp, my eyes wide and pale. She kept them hidden in a notebook. I watched from the shadows as she flipped through the pages, lips moving like she was reciting a story no one else could hear. Her parents got nervous, said she was too caught up in the dream. Took her for hikes. No screens. No sugar. No stories before bed. Didn't matter. Dreams can't be blocked like Wi-Fi. The last night of their trip, she came to the dock again. But this time, she knelt at the edge and reached into the water. I took her hand. And for a moment, I rose. Not all the way. Just to my shoulders. Enough for her to see the cut on my temple, the moss on my jacket, the sadness stitched into every inch of me. She didn't scream. She just whispered, "You were alone too long." Then she woke up crying. That morning, she snuck out before her parents were awake, tiptoed to the edge of the dock and stood there in her pajamas. She whispered, "Are you real?" I tried to answer. The water rippled. A breeze picked up. A dragonfly landed on her wrist. She smiled. Then they left. The car pulled away, and I was alone again, but not entirely, because she dreams of me still, not every night, but enough. Enough that I still feel the warmth of her memory floating down into the cold. She's older now, probably barely remembers that summer, probably calls it that weird phase. But deep down, something in her remembers. And sometimes, when she dreams, she comes back. And I reach for her again, still waiting, still hoping that maybe one night she'll bring someone with her. Someone who knows how to pull me all the way out. I died during the podcast. Is this thing on? That was the last thing I said. I always started episodes that way. A dumb little inside joke with the listeners. Tap the mic, say the line, pretend I didn't know. It made me sound casual, real. They liked that. I had about 4,000 regulars, not huge, but steady. True crime and internet mysteries, nothing too serious. I kept it light. Snarky, added sound effects I downloaded from royalty-free sites. Edited everything myself from my studio apartment in Manhattan. Well, studio corner, between the fridge and the radiator. The last episode I recorded was about a haunted number station. You know, those creepy radio signals that broadcast nonsense? I thought it'd be a fun one. Low effort. Got the script from Reddit, lined up some samples, plugged in the mic. Easy. Mid-recording, I started feeling weird. Not like sick. More like the air was folding in on itself. I remember saying, "Is this thing on?" Then the mic went red. Not blinking. Just solid. And I collapsed. Not dramatically. No gasping or clutching my chest. Just gone. Out of frame. Here's the thing, though. The software kept recording. And when the audio auto-uploaded, because I had it set to auto-schedule, the file went live that night. Titled, Episode 72, Numbers Don't Lie. For 2 full days, no one noticed. Until the email started. At first, people thought it was a joke, an immersive bit, some kind of ARG. "Love the ending, super creepy," one person wrote. Another said, "That wheezing in the last 10 seconds? Chilling. You nailed the vibe." Except I wasn't breathing in those last 10 seconds. I wasn't anything. And then came the forums. Threads popped up. Speculation. Audio engineers breaking down the waveform. One guy said there was a sublayer of sound under my voice. A hiss that resolved into words if you slowed it down by 40%. The words, "Don't stop speaking." That's not part of the episode. I never said that. At least, I don't remember saying it. And it gets weirder, because someone keeps releasing episodes. Not every week like I used to. Just occasionally, sporadic. Enough to keep the feed active. No intro, no music, just static. Then a voice. My voice, except it's off, like I'm underwater or buried. The words come slow, and sometimes they echo, like they're bouncing off walls. No mic should be near. The content? Nothing. Rambling. Nonsense phrases. But in every episode, the final 3 seconds are dead silent until a single word slips in, whispered like it's inches from the listener's ear. One time it was listen. Another, deeper. Last week, breathe. People are obsessed. The subscriber count's over 80,000 now. I watch it from somewhere I don't understand. Not heaven, not hell. More like a signal bouncing between towers, looking for a body to land in. I can't touch anything. Can't move, but I feel when someone hits play. Every time someone listens, I flicker. I think they're helping me come back. Or maybe I'm helping something else get through. I don't know anymore if the voice is mine, but I know what the next word will be. It's ready. Sitting at the end of the next upload, the one queued for midnight. And when they hear it, they'll feel it. Not in their ears, in their hands, their breath, their bones. The word is open. And once they do, I don't think I'll be the one coming through. The new family doesn't know the rules. This house has rules. Not the kind written down, not taped to the fridge or scribbled in cursive over the doorway. They were passed on. By footsteps, by whispers, by the way people hesitated before flipping a light switch. The last family knew them. They never went downstairs after 10 p.m. Didn't matter if they left their phone charging or the laundry still wet. Once the grandfather clock struck 10, they stayed upstairs. Quietly. They always turned the kitchen light on 3 times before switching it off. Click, click, click. Then darkness, not 2, not 4, always 3. And they never, ever acknowledged the window by the back pantry. It reflects another house, almost identical, but not quite. The shutters are too narrow. The porch swing sways without wind. Sometimes there's a figure in the other window, looking in. The Johnsons understood. At least they learned fast. The night they broke a rule, their dog vanished. No blood, no sound. Just a collar by the basement door and scratches on the wood that weren't there before. They stayed 6 more years. Never broke another rule. But now they're gone. And the new family doesn't know. They moved in all smiles. Young couple, 2 kids, blonde little girl, loud boy, who kicks soccer balls indoors. Boxes still half packed. Music always playing. Lights always on. They laugh too much, and they don't listen. First night, they went downstairs after 10. Looking for extra blankets, they said. I rattled the pipes, whispered from the heating vent. The girl heard me. She paused on the 3rd step, but her father said, "Old house sounds," so they kept going. Second night, they turned the kitchen light off without the clicks. Just one flip. I flickered the bulbs in warning, hummed through the oven. They didn't notice. Or maybe they did, and laughed it off. The window? They looked right at it. The boy pressed his face against it, said, "There's another me in there." And the mother. She laughed. They're breaking the rules, one by one. I don't want to hurt them. That's not what I am. But the house remembers. It doesn't like being ignored. Last night, the girl got up for water. It was past 10. I tried to stop her, whispered her name from the hallway. She froze, listened. Then she turned the light on, just once, and reached for the faucet. The figure in the pantry window moved. She saw it, dropped her glass, didn't scream, just stared. In the reflection, the girl on the other side smiled. Tonight, I hear them arguing. The parents say the girl's making things up, that old houses creak, that reflections don't smile first. But I know what comes next. The door to the basement will open. On its own. The boy will chase his ball down the stairs. He won't come back up. They'll panic, cry, sleep with the lights on, and then maybe they'll listen. I don't ask for much. Just the rules. 3 clicks, no stairs after 10. And don't look at the window. Some things don't like to be seen. Some things are still waiting to be let in. I'm the reason they sell the house every year. They sell this house every year. Sometimes every 10 months. Sometimes 15. But never longer than that. Real estate agents listed as charming, sun-filled, quiet street, great schools. All technically true. It has good bones, a sweet front porch, a maple tree that turns blood red in fall. But the families never stay. I don't slam doors. I don't creak floorboards at night or scribble on mirrors. I don't even whisper. I just exist. I sit in the attic, in the closet behind the coats, on the couch when no one's home. I watch. I listen. And my presence wraps around the rooms like smoke with no scent. They never see me, but they feel me. The first few weeks are always fine. New furniture, new curtains, a dog or a cat to warm the floors, laughter in the kitchen, scented candles, too many throw pillows. Then comes the shift. They start waking up tired, restless, like they ran a marathon in their dreams. They begin to forget things. Where they parked, what they said yesterday, what the house looked like the day they moved in. Their appetites change. One woman stopped eating entirely, said everything tasted like dust. Another started sleepwalking, always to the same spot in the hallway, where I like to linger. It's not malicious. I'm not angry. But being near me does something. I know that now. It makes people hollow. They carry me in their heads, even when they leave. I've watched some of them years later, visiting with realtors. Pale, distracted, thin. One of them burst into tears just seeing the address. I didn't ask to be this way. I died in this house. Quietly. Forgotten. No one came looking. No obituary. Just me and a final breath I never finished. I didn't want to haunt. But a thing left unseen still exists. Still presses. And that pressure, it sinks into the bones of a home. I've seen new paint peel in days. Smart thermostats glitch at 3:07 a.m. Exactly. Mirrors take just a little too long to reflect back. The last owners left after the baby stopped crying. Not died. Just stopped. Slept all day. Blank eyes. Wouldn't respond unless held outside. They sold the house within a week. I watched them pack. The mother kept glancing over her shoulder, like she knew something was there but couldn't name it. They didn't speak a word during the final walkthrough. Now it's listed again. Fresh mulch out front. New sign. Open house Sunday. I watched the stager bring in fake books and plastic plants. I sat on the second floor landing while she worked. She paused, rubbed her arms. Feels chilly up here, she said. The air was still. She'll leave and forget. But the next family? They'll start to feel it. And soon, they'll sell too. Because I don't have to scare them. I just have to stay. No one told me I was dead. I thought I got out. I remember the gate opening. I remember the guards not saying much. Just the clang of metal, the slow walk out, and a sky that looked too bright after all that time inside. They said I could go, that my time was served, that they'd reviewed the case. No apology, no handshake, no bus ticket. Just freedom. I walked, miles maybe. Hours. My legs didn't hurt. Everything just felt distant. I made it back to the town I knew. Little beachside Florida place. I remembered the streets, the corner diner, even the old movie theater with the neon sign half lit. But no one looked at me. People brushed past. Waitresses didn't refill my coffee. A man dropped his keys right next to my foot and didn't even glance at me as he picked them up. I thought maybe I'd changed more than I realized. Prison does that. Makes you invisible. But it kept happening. I knocked on my mother's door. She opened it, looked right through me, and closed it again. I shouted her name. Nothing. I walked into the grocery store I used to work at. My old boss stood by the register. I called out to him. He didn't flinch. The only one who noticed me was a kid, maybe 10, sitting on a bench outside the library, swinging his legs. He stared, real direct. "You're not supposed to be here," he said. I laughed. "What do you mean?" "I live here." He tilted his head. "This used to be the prison, long time ago, before they shut it down. My brother says they electrocuted a guy right where you're standing. That's when it started to unravel." I looked around. The buildings were the same, sort of, but the streets felt newer. The people wore clothes a little too current. The names on the stores were wrong. The date on a newspaper said 2029. I went to the library, looked myself up. Death certificate, dated 5 years ago. Name, inmate ID. Crime I didn't commit. Cause of death, execution. I dropped the paper. I didn't remember dying, just waiting, then walking out. Now I wonder if they never let me out at all. Maybe they told me I could go, to make it easier. Maybe I've been walking this loop since the chair sparked and the lights blinked. Maybe that kid's the only one who still sees the edges. I sit on the bench now, every day, waiting for someone to say my name. They don't, but sometimes I see other faces, pale, confused, like they're trying to remember where they're supposed to be. And I nod, because no one told them either. If you made it to the end, you're officially a legend. Seriously, thank you so much. If you didn't fall asleep, hit that like button and subscribe. See you in the next video.